What's up guys, I'm Chris Lehto. Welcome to my channel where up until 2 weeks ago I was not making videos on UFOs. And that all changed when the Navy declassified the three main FLIR videos, the targeting pod, and then I took a serious look at it and it just blew my mind. So totally blew my mind. And then I gave my own impressions of these videos, released my own video. Nobody really watched it. Nobody watched my videos before now. And then I started seeing a bunch of stuff from my my friends here. Hey man, that's already been debunked. And I was like, really? Like, how? I want to see this, So I went and looked, and that's where I kept seeing all these articles. Thunderfoot has 1 million subscribers. They're putting out all these other videos of these people claiming something that's just obviously false. Okay, it's just wrong. I did the GoFast video first because honestly, I thought that was going to be the hardest for me to debunk, and really it's because what information is presented. So what you guys have to remember is this is just one little screen that we use. Okay, we also have the heads-up display, provides a lot of information, and then whatever we put on our other displays can be radar or overhead view. So this is just one little slice. So the engagement, the GoFast engagement, the way it worked, it was just harder to show you guys why it's not correct. Yeah, the biggest thing with the GoFast video is the range is ambiguous, okay? Targeting pods do not know the range. They are very, very good at determining line of sight exactly to something, okay? It's like a spotting scope, a very, very, very accurate spotting scope in infrared, if you can think of it that way, and also TV, okay? It's a passive sensor. It cannot create its own range unless there is one technique I will show you shortly, which is it's just the best. Targeting pod is a passive sensor. It can only receive information. And so it can only, the photons that are hitting it, right? The light that's hitting it, it receives on its sensor and it knows where it's coming from, okay? Exactly, it's very accurate. Targeting pod is very accurate in angle, okay? It knows which angle it is pointing. The way it locks on is it's dumb in that sense, okay? When it locks onto something, the pod is only using the processing that's on the screen, okay? There's nothing else smart going on, okay? We just attach this thing inside the pod. It has its own screen processing. So really, whatever's on the screen, it will pixel, black pixel, white pixel, it will use its own processing to see what is changing in this picture, okay? So it's image processing is what it's using. So it's range ambiguous. And that was the big thing, that number's on there. That for the GoFast video, the number, it says 4.3. Yeah, but that number is not correct. Any pilot or operator of these things knows that you can't trust all the information, okay? You have to understand specifically what that information means and where it's coming from and how valid it is, okay? And that's really what fighter pilots ultimately do, is we sensor fuse up until 5th generation, right? The pilot was in charge of fusing all this data from all these disparate systems together and creating what is the most important thing. And really for fighters, it's where's the target and how can we shoot it, okay? ID track target, and that's what you do, especially for air-to-air. For this video, this is gonna be so good. I honestly feel bad, actually. And so my goal is not out to disparage other people or to, make them look bad in public, etc. But I will challenge Mick West. This is a challenge for you. If after this video you do not, you're not willing to accept that this is possibly real, then I will have to say that yes, there is some issues going on, okay? Because I'm going to show you definitively, okay? This ain't no GoFast. What about the depth of field? Maybe the depth of field. Okay, let's try it on this one. Because this one happened, the gimbal video happens that it's in a stable turn, right? This is a stable, man. The picture's level. They're on the horizon, the fighter's on the horizon. This is not a very dynamic situation, okay? So I can show you without a shadow of a doubt, everybody, using a protractor, paper and pen, and a ruler, how you at home can totally debunk. All right, guys, this is gonna be a total touchdown. I am just honestly curious what the naysayers will say to this one, okay? So like I explained in the intro, the targeting pods are very good at telling you angle, okay? And since we know where the fighter is, we know where the targeting pod is relatively, and we know where the pod is aiming, okay? We can tell exactly, well, approximately exactly where this thing is, how far away it is, and how far it's traveling. And I'm gonna show you how you can do it at home using simple basic, I don't even think it's trigonometry, right? You don't even have to use trigonometry. This is just basic angles. Let's go through first Mick West's argument, okay? So his argument, I'll just show it here so you can watch and see for yourself.
Channel, which I will make sure to link down below. But tell us, what do you think is going on with the gimbal video?
What I think is going on with the gimbal video is that it's actually the glare from the infrared, So the engines of a plane are very, very hot, and they show up in the heat-sensitive camera essentially as bright lights. Now, in this video, it's inverted, so hot is black. So it looks like a black object, and you've got the shape of the glare. Now, you're familiar with, in astronomy, you often see what looks like a cross over a star or a celestial object of some sort because of the diffraction effect. And this is actual, the aperture of the camera has an effect on what the glare looks like. And what's happening, I think, here is that you're getting essentially a flying saucer-shaped glare, which I've actually replicated with little cameras I have on my own. And it's because it's so bright, because the engine is so hot, it's obscuring the actual outline of the plane, which you might see in the infrared, which wouldn't be very hot anyway, so you wouldn't see very much of it. So you just...
Okay. All right, first thing I just want to point out is you could tell this is a fighter, right? Because we're close to it. We can still tell, right, that this is a light source, a strong light source, on the top of a pole, which is in a garage, right? I mean, we can still tell this. And we're not even that far away, but you see we're still pretty close, so it is larger, okay? Whereas here, something's very, very far away. Obviously, we can't see it, right? It does obscure the background because we can't make it out like a star. And here's a fighter. We know about this effect. You know, every single day, we follow another fighter out, you know, the flight lead and the wingman. If there's any weather, you're going to follow somebody out. Like, we know this effect. It is true. From behind, it is sort of difficult. If you're looking right down the intake, you will get this diffraction effect. Okay, but I can still see it's a plane, right? Okay. So his main argument, from what I can tell, is that this thing, okay, and he said it in other videos as well, is so far away, right? And the light is so bright somehow that it's obscuring everything, at least around it in the pod, okay? But I'm going to show you right now that we know exactly how far away this thing is. And I can tell you how fast it is going, strictly through angles. Okay, so here we go. All right, guys, so this is what we do as fighter pilots when we go to debrief a mission. Okay, the easy one about this now is since everything's level, okay, we can effectively take this engagement and make it two-dimensional. Okay, we can look at it from above. Okay, the GoFast video is hard because that was a three-dimensional video, very dynamic. They're moving very fast. Like your velocity changes are high, your altitude differences are very high. Okay, here, vanilla scenario. Okay, and basically I think he's on autopilot as he's doing this intercept. Okay, so here we go. Go ahead and draw it through. What I want to show here is that we have 0.1. Okay, I'm going to go through and explain basically how we debrief. This is 0.1. Okay, so we start at what we know is the fighter. Okay, so the fighter we actually don't know is heading, right? They do say later that hey, it's going against the wind west, but we don't actually know the fighter's heading. In the older tape, the FLIR 1, the GoFast video, we actually did have the fighter's heading. It came up under that range number that everybody was talking about. But if you look at the turn of the fighters, actually they were in a left-hand turn, which makes sense. That was the fighter heading. I digress. So here, 0.1, time 52:46. All right, the fighter I have pointed here. You can see this is the little fighter down here. Okay, this is how we draw it. Okay, this is a fighter. And this is 0.1, minute 52:46, and I drew a line. Okay, I measured with a protractor, okay, out, and I actually made it more accurate. You see it's a little bit off. I got it exactly right to 53, and then I drew a line of bearing line, okay, at that point, that is where, somewhere along that line is this target, right? It's locked onto something, we can all agree on that, and it is somewhere along this line, right? So Mick West's he says that the target is far away, maybe an airliner in the distance. We couldn't tell what it is. And that is miraculously creating this huge bokeh or whatever, and you can't make out the rest of the vehicle, right? Which he says is a plane at some range. Okay, he doesn't mention. All right, so in here, 1 inch equals 1 nautical mile. Okay, and what I did is the fighters are traveling at 0.6 Mach approximately. The rule of thumb for that is 6 miles per minute. Okay, supersonic is 10 miles a minute. So 6 miles a minute is how fast the fighters are traveling. They don't really change that. So if you do the math on that, okay, it goes 6 miles a minute, means they go a mile every 10 seconds. So I will stop the tape every 10 seconds. We know the fighters will go 1 mile based on their turn radius, okay, which we can tell. I can get exactly, exactly where the fighter is located, okay, and let's do that. So here we go. There's point 1, like I said. Now we draw forward, okay? What's great about this is they're in a standard rate turn, okay? They start out at 25 degrees, but then they go up to 35 degrees. A standard rate turn, if you're flying around with air traffic control, etc., is level 30 degrees, okay? I don't know, what is it, like 1.3 Gs? When you're flying around an airline, that's what you're doing, okay? When they're turning, you're doing a 30-degree standard rate turn. They're probably on autopilot. So here, he does a standard rate turn, okay? Standard rate turn has a radius of 2.4 nautical miles. So the radius of this curve right here, from here to here, if you measure as 1 inch, this is 2.4 nautical miles, okay? And we can also know a standard rate turn is you turn 3 degrees every second. So after 10 seconds, they go 30 degrees, okay? So if you measure, and I did, from here to here, this is a 30-degree angle, okay? So that is where the fighters are at point 2. So that is 10 seconds later, 52, 56, 38 degrees left now. There's the measurements, okay, just so you can see, 38 degrees left. I draw another point, okay, a line of bearing, sorry. So line of bearing from that point now, here's their nose. We know it's 38 degrees off of this, from their nose, okay, that's target point. And we can draw a line of bearing that we know the target is locked to something along this line, right? We can agree? Okay. So that's point 2, okay? Let's go to point 3. Okay, so for point 3 now, if you notice, they actually turn a little bit more, okay? They turn a little bit more, up to 35 degrees. So you can see this is like a 25-degree turn, and then this is a 35-degree turn. Okay, but you can, again, calculate the heading based on how hard they turn, how long they turn, 10 seconds. They go around basically another 30 degrees, okay? So from this heading, now they're only 21 degrees from the target. Okay, so they're actually converting on this thing, stern conversion, pretty cold stern conversion is what I would say. I'll show you how many miles they are actually in a second. And now we draw another line. Okay, so we draw a line of bearing to the target. So the target has to be, so point 1, the target has to be somewhere on this line. Okay, point 2, the target has to be somewhere on this line, right? And point 3, at that time, the target has to be somewhere on this line. Still with me? So, what I noticed in the video is that it doesn't accelerate. Okay, so what I see is constant velocity. So constant velocity, meaning it doesn't accelerate. Okay, so if it's going the same speed, then if we draw a line along here, okay, it has to be where the lines are equivalent. Does that make sense? So this is the angle that we get, okay, where they are actually equivalent. So you could draw, I guess you could draw a line in here, and you can draw a line in here, or if you draw a different angle, right, if you draw like the craft is flying this way, right, this is going to be big and this is going to be small. So basically, there's no other way to make it equivalent, okay? This is the angle the craft is flying. So it could be further away, right? But let's look at how wrong I could possibly be on this range distance, okay? Is where we get point 1, point 2, point 3. Okay, could you find a point in here where they're equivalent? Probably. Okay, you're not going to find any points here, right? Because we know the craft isn't this close. We would see rapid line of sight, okay? So it's definitely not any closer than this. Otherwise, and this is basically the argument that Mick West is making in his first GoFast video. In the GoFast video, he's saying that there is a weather balloon basically stuck right here, okay? But look at it, it doesn't work, okay? If a weather balloon was actually stuck here, then how does the angle of bearing, how does it change so rapidly? Okay, and this is what was missing from the GoFast video. Okay, you did not see this change there was no stern conversion. I saw no aspect break on the target. That's what I was trying to explain about the rotation. There's no aspect break. So I know that the target's further away. Okay, anyway, trying to dispute this one, Mr. West. All right, guys, so we can now measure this distance here, okay? So let's measure that distance. First is away, 6.2 nautical miles is what I get for this one, 6.0 nautical miles, and 5.9 nautical miles, okay? That is basically there, and at that speed, basically this is 1 inch, okay? So in the same time frame that the fighters went 1 inch here, okay? Then the objects went, I believe, 1 inch as well. So I think they're going an equivalent speed to the fighters, you know, around 0.61 Mach, okay? So now let's look at, this is where, this is final, this is so good. So I'm pretty sure it's 6 miles, I don't think Mick West can disagree with this, at a target going across our nose, okay, that it will not look like a star at, you know, whatever it is, 100 light years, correct? Okay, so let's look at that. Let's imagine, for instance, that this could possibly be true, and this is some, you know, airliner further away or something. Let's look how fast this thing would have to be going, okay? So I went out to the max of the ruler that I drew, okay, and I found another equivalent, okay? Now we go 2 inches to 2 inches, and this is the same, right? Because there's really no other way to make this equivalent. These two, this and this, because it's constant velocity. Now out here, this would be double the speed, okay? So this would be Mach 1.2 out here. If the targets are 9 miles away at 0.1, if this thing, whatever it is 9 miles away at the start, based on the angles that I just showed you, it would have to be going Mach 1.2. Supersonic, faster than the speed of sound. Anything further than this is even more ridiculous. Okay, so this idea that this is a airliner at range is just preposterous. Okay, so this is 0.6 Mach and this is 1.2 Mach. So I believe it is somewhere right in this range. Okay, and you notice we actually close, the fighters actually close on it, 6.2, 6.0, 5.9. And if you look, it actually does get larger if you mill size it. I've mentioned this before. So mill sizing is basically, so basically if we know the size of an object, we can determine its range if we know the angles, correct? So that's how we do it. I know the size of an enemy fighter, and so if I can get a picture of it, right, and I can determine roughly its aspect, so how I'm looking at it, then I can actually determine how big it is, okay? And this is based off mill sizing, so it changes. So I'm sure it's in one of the thousands of pages of manual documents, but basically it'll say like a flight path marker, you know, from here to here at this narrow field of view is this many mil, say 8 mil, okay, millimeters, okay. And so now I could know that this is 8 mil, okay. So then that would be roughly, you know, 14 mil. You can, you know, you measure it with a piece of paper, and then you can determine how far away it is, right? Equivalently, if you know how far away it is, you can determine how big it is using these same things, okay? I do not have access to this targeting pond manual, so I would ask anyone out there who has access to a Lightning AT, if you could tell me narrow field of view, zoomed in, 2 times digital zoom, what is the mill size? And then we can say exactly how long this thing is. And just how big I think it is based off of these things is about 40 feet. That's what I think it is. It's about 40 feet across. The final thing, he talks about this bokeh, okay? Now that I've shown that this thing has to be, unless it's going supersonic, it has to be less than 8 miles away. So my question to any of the debunkers, Mick, Thunderfoot, anyone that's created these pods is, do you really think that we cannot break out detail at less than 8 nautical miles? And by the way, when we look at this, that is a line, okay? And there's even better when it goes later. Okay, this is not, this is, you know, when you showed those bouquets, it was a circle, right? And it had no edges. But right here, I'm showing like this is a line. So how do you describe this? That is not what we showed. That's not a bouquet. So you can't. I really don't think you can. You can't describe. And the reason this is all black, okay, is because in my mind, it is all the same temperature, right? If something is the same temperature in the pod, it is going to blend in. You will not be able to see it. If this thing is the same temperature, for whatever reason, it's made of the same material, or who knows, whatever other crazy things could be possible. But, you know, this is a definitive line. This is a definitive line. So, and as far as this, you know, force field bouquet, I want to say is we know about this as well. Okay, so at 7 nautical miles, do you think this is really going to be the case? If you look at the other examples, they don't look like this, right? They don't look like this. And that's at far range. Could that be a potential weird bouquet effect? I guess. Maybe. To me, it doesn't look like any of the other things. And at 7 miles, you are not going to get that. I mean, someone would have to prove this to me again. To me, I see exactly what it looks like right here. Is you have a very clear saucer shape. There's a little bump up here. Okay, there's a little bump there. So it's rounded on this top. And then there is a diffusion here. So this is diffuse. Okay, this is slightly diffused. But this is diffused. I believe this is like heat, like an engine kind of shooting out here. So that's what that looks like to me. That looks like an engine. I am honestly curious, like what can they come back to that? Okay, show me, please. Show me. debunkers, debunkers, triple debunkers, your answer for this. I am honestly curious. And again, if I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, but you have to look at the evidence, right? If you're not willing to look at the evidence and actually look at it, then, I mean, I don't know what else, there's nothing else we can say. Anyway, guys, thank you for all the support, and thank you for all the interest in this. I didn't want to get into UFOs. It wasn't my plan, okay, up until 2 weeks ago. But if this is true, then this is the biggest story ever, right? If we have actual proof of extraterrestrial life, I mean, that is a huge story. And personally, I cannot at all speak on behalf of the US government. Okay, I'm not affiliated with them. I'm retired. My own personal belief is that they have this stuff, or they had it. And if it's not them, we need to know about it. And either way, we need to know about it, because again, it's the biggest story ever. If there's proof of extra life, and there's people somewhere in the US government or any government that know about this, you guys need to have the courage. It's easy to say, right? I mean, we need to know about this, guys, and like, tell us. We have a right to know. If you have alien technology, US government, you need to release this. This is ridiculous. All right, guys, please like and subscribe, share. I'll make another video on the FLIR one. That should be pretty easy as well to debunk. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.